Welcome to week 17 of the Tailgate. That's Ralph Vacchiano. I'm Michelle Margaux. And coming up, Jeff Saturday will tell us why he's still a believer in Sam Darnold. But first, Ralph, the Giants have lost 3 in a row, and they have shown no life on offense. Their defense allowed 249 rushing yards to the Ravens, yet they still have hope in the NFC East. So would a playoff spot ensure that Dave Gettleman has a job next season?
Well, this is an interesting question because it's really on the mind of a lot of fans, almost more so than the idea that the Giants could get into the playoffs. They sort of, that's secondary to them is what does this mean for Dave Gettleman? I think there's a chance that if they get in, that the Giants will look at it and say, how can you get rid of a general manager who just got us to the playoffs? But to me, I think that decision has to be made already. If they are basing his future and their future on one game on Sunday, and possibly if the Giants win, they would be basing it on a game where they're not even playing in when Washington and Philadelphia play on Sunday night. If that's what's determining his fate, it is a colossally stupid way to run your business.
All right, well, switching gears to the Jets, is Adam Gase auditioning for his next job outside the Jets organization this weekend?
He's not going to get another head coaching job. I think that's out the window. But if a team is looking for an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach, there's been some reports that maybe New England might be interested in him, then yeah, if the Jets, they showed progress offensively the last 2 weeks with all their weapons back, if they continue to do that in the finale, it'll be a good way for another team to sell their fan base on. This is why we brought in this guy who was a failure as a head coach. Look what he did with a full deck. He can actually do something to help our team.
Let's dive into the comment section. And when you watch this Giants team, it's very challenging to figure out how actually good they are and whether they're making progress heading into 2021. So what result on Sunday is actually best for the franchise long-term?
Well, my instinct is that it's winning. I have to admit, though, I'm a little shocked that the fan base doesn't agree. I did a poll on Twitter, and the majority thought that losing and getting a higher draft pick was going to be in the best interest of the team. And I get it. They might move up 10 spots or so in the draft, but I don't see how you can substitute being in the playoffs. And, once you get in the playoffs, I know they're going to go in at 6-10 if they get in, but you never know what can happen.
Ralph, we know the division is a dumpster fire this season, but looking ahead to next season and beyond, which of these 4 teams is best suited for long-term success?
This is interesting because there's a real good possibility in my mind that this year is not an anomaly and that for the next 2 or 3 years, the same dumpster fire will be lit. The Cowboys are the one that stands out because I really think had Dak Prescott not gotten hurt, they would be running away with this division. So if they can figure out a way to re-sign Dak Prescott, which I assume they will, they could be a really good team.
Well, now on to the Jets, who, by the way, became the first team ever to win 2 games against teams that had at least 9 more wins than they did. And now they're locked into the number 2 draft picks. So Trevor Lawrence is not going to be a possibility unless the Jags are literally crazy. So what should the Jets do with that draft pick?
There's going to be some team desperate to go up and get a quarterback. So the Jets really could get a big haul in a trade and still get a good player at, 8, 9, 10, maybe even 15 if they have to drop that far. They need multiple draft picks. So that would be the number one thing I think they should do. If they get stuck at number 2, I kind of like the plan that Jets fans laid out for me in another Twitter poll that I did. I gave 4 choices, and overwhelmingly, Jets fans picked the tackle. If they took Sewell at number 2, it means keeping Sam Darnold. It means getting another offensive lineman to protect him. It means being able to dip into free agency, which has a great wide receiver class. So if they stay at number 2 and do that, they're looking at some instant improvement, and I think that would be something that Joe Douglas, who loves his offensive linemen, would approve of.
Let's high step in the friend zone and welcome an ESPN NFL analyst and longtime NFL center, Jeff Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, so the Giants O-line was such a strength of their Super Bowl runs. They haven't had much success in that area in recent years. Why do you think that is?
Oh, listen, everybody likes to talk about tackles, but the 3 inside guys from guard center to guard, so many offensive offensive systems get messed up because of pressure on the interior. That interior 3, and when you talk about the Super Bowl runs, whether it be Snee, O'Hara, like those guys, they were dudes, right? I mean, these guys were players. They were physical. They were smart. And so when you look at that, that's what has to get replicated for offensive lines to kind of take seed and grow.
I will give the Giants and Jets this. They are trying to rebuild their offensive lines, and both teams used a first-round pick on a tackle, the Jets with Mekhi Becton, the Giants with Andrew Thomas. What are your impressions of those two so far, and can you tell right away as a rookie whether an offensive lineman has it, or does it take time individually for them to develop?
Well, I think you can tell right away if they're going to be able to stay in the league. You know, Becton, he's just a freaking mountain of a man. And when he gets his hands on you, he's violent. He does a really nice job finishing, and he's working on his technique, right? The one concern I had with him coming in was the bend, right? Is can he continue to bend, get down, and he has proven that he can meet that challenge. Thomas, on the other hand, he started a little slower, right? And I think because of the adjustment from the University of Georgia to, you know, what he's doing in that game plan, hand placement, hat placement, it's completely different. But I think both those kids have progressed pretty well through the season, and those are the ones you want to build around.
The Jets are now locked into the number 2 draft pick. What do you think they should do with that pick?
Ooh, I tell you, that is a tough question for me. I like Sam Darnold. I am concerned, right, not only about turning the ball over, right, whether it's interceptions, fumbles, but also longevity, you know, health, right? Like, I don't like you missing a bunch of games. And listen, every time I talk about Darnold, I get all kinds of Jets fans, and they're blasting me about Peyton Manning's interceptions, you know, early on in his career. And I have to remind him, he also threw a bunch of touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like there was good balance on, you know, he was also producing as he was learning how to kind of play. If I'm the Jets, if it's Fields, does he fit into what you want to do? And if he's not the guy, and I say this with 100% conviction, if you don't believe he is your franchise for 10 years, then you stay with Darnold, you build pieces around him, trade out of that pick, pick up more picks, you know, go get, whether it's address the offensive line, you help him with guys on the outside, which will be vital for his growth and development. He needs more on the outside. Like that's just obvious. And so I think the Jets have not done a great job of keeping their best guys here. And so they'll have to continue to grow in that. But when you're sitting there, if Darnold is your guy, you've got to get him some help on the outside.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, guys. Have a great one.
The Tailgate presents our next induction into the Tailgate Hall of Fame.
Tailgate Hall of Fame.
Today, we salute you, Mr. Tailgate Crasher.
Mr. Tailgate Crasher.
Your dedication to your favorite team has never been in question, but your weekly decision to invade random parking lot tailgate parties is just plain weird.
Does anyone know who that guy is?
You show up alone and empty-handed each week with your way too tight Phil Simms jersey, eager to share your knowledge of the spread offense, but only end up in awkward interactions with complete strangers.
Your lack of social awareness is concerning.
Yes, the beer and burgers taste better when they're free.
Who are you?
But unfortunately, your gift of gab does not come with a receipt, because every tailgater you approach runs away faster than Henry Ruggs against Lamar Jackson.
Guess I'll try the tailgating lot B instead.
So even though you weren't invited, we have no choice but to welcome you to the Tailgate Hall of Fame, Mr. Tailgate Crasher.
Your actions left me both confused and impressed.
Time to get into victory formation. And Ralph, we need to make some New Year's resolutions for 2021. Ralph, what are your short-term and long-term resolutions for the New York Giants? I like your hat.
Thank you very much. My short-term resolutions for the Giants, I want them to make the playoffs. Long-term for them, I want Daniel Jones to be the guy. I think he is a good quarterback who needs to do a little bit of work. But mostly, I don't want to see the Giants have to start over in a couple of years with a new one. They could be set back 5 years if they were wrong about him. So I would like, in 2021, I would like us to really see that Daniel Jones was the right choice.
All right, how about the Jets?
So I want them to hire a coach that the fans can believe in. I'm not really sure who yet that is going to be, but when you look back, fans were not happy with Adam Gase. They weren't happy, I don't think, when Todd Bowles was hired. Probably when Rex Ryan was hired, they believed in him a little bit, but I want there to be somebody out there where they just know right away that they got the right guy.
All right, so Ralph, what is your resolution for 2021?
Well, first, I'd like to get out of this basement. It's a little cramped. I haven't been out of here in a while. And honestly, we've been doing this show for a full year now, and I still haven't met you in person.
You can't tell people that.
Well, I think they know. I haven't moved from this spot. I think they got to get it.
Yeah, but how tall are you? I don't want to be blindsided when I meet you.
I'm like 6'6". My real resolution for 2021, though, I want to cover winning football. 5 years at SNY, the Giants and Jets are 51-107 under my watch. I am so tired of being a loser. What are your resolutions?
Well, my resolution is to get better at having props on my set for next season's tailgate.
I got some extra hats for you.
Thanks, because you one-up me every single week. All right, well, that's it for this episode of The Tailgate. Thanks once again to Jeff Saturday. You can find him on Twitter at SaturdayJeff. For Vacchiano, I'm Michelle Margaux. We'll see you next year.